For those who are unfamiliar, this is Patriot Barbie. That's what she calls herself, also known as Lindsey Graham. Not the senator, but, you know, the right-wing social media influencer, if you will. Absolutely insane, some of the stuff that she says. I want to listen to this video with her where she, like, does an interview with this guy named Steve Schultz. It is just wild. So let's listen. While we do, we're going to play Final Fantasy VII Remake. Should just be in the background. Won't bother you too much. You never played before. I guess this is his segment, Steve Schultz segment from the Elijah List on Prophets and Patriots, okay?
And new tonight, a Salem salon plans on defying the governor's coronavirus orders by reopening for business.
I'm risking going to jail to do it. That's how
Patriot Barbie got famous, I guess. She opened her salon and risked jail time. Oh, she's such a martyr. Fights for us. She's a fighter and a martyr, like Jesus.
How important it is to my family.
Having Kate Brown personally sick her agencies on me and harass me and bully me, she's way out of her league, and it's time that someone told her that.
Lindsey Graham, you're not out of yours.
Everyone's job is essential, not because of what we do or how we do it, but because it's the way we make our living.
Everyone is essential, she says. Well, there's a 100-year pandemic that hit society, got massive numbers of people killed, millions and millions worldwide, certainly, but even in the U.S., millions, multiple millions of people died from COVID. If we had not taken the precautions that we took as a society, like social distancing, mask wearing, limiting our physical contact with people generally, and getting vaccinated, if we hadn't taken those steps, we would have had way more deaths than we did. Way more deaths. In fact, there's a graph. There's like a math equation that you can do that'll show you roughly how many deaths would have occurred based on like the exponential curve or whatever that we see as a result of COVID. But go on and tell me how you are a victim.
Do what you're doing today, which is showing up, because it's really hard to be strong by yourself.
Such a victim, such a martyr. She's fighting for us, huh? Not for her ability to run a company that she wants to run, but for us. FYI, yeah, shutting down a company temporarily is very difficult and damaging. There were almost no lockdowns. There's like one lockdown where essential businesses were open for some period of time, and the government gave people PPP loans, which could be forgiven and were forgiven, like almost universally. If you needed to pay employees or retain costs to rent the building or whatever, you could get PPP loans from the government. And she's complaining about all of this when it's not the government's doing. Like, none of this stuff is the result of like government lockdowns or bans or whatever, like she seems to think. Jesus, get a grip on reality.
If I didn't comply and shut my doors.
Targeted, bullied, intimidated. Words popping up on screen if you're just listening.
They would then issue me a $70,000 citation.
Threatened, persecuted. $70,000 citation? Like, I don't even know what she's talking about. Is any of this true? This certainly is not an accurate representation of the situation.
If you can possibly believe this, Child Protective Services showed up at my home.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Hard doubt. No, I don't believe it. It says, if you can believe this. No, I can't. You telling me CPS showed up at your house simply because you refused to, like, shut your business doors during the pandemic? No. If CPS showed up at your doors, it's because you're a scumbag who did some scumbag shit. You realize how short-handed CPS is? I do. I've had to work with them when I was younger.
If I didn't comply and shut my doors, they would then issue me a $70,000 citation. And if you can possibly believe this,
Which she said if she doesn't, then she will get a $70,000 citation. So she didn't get the citation?
I would say do what you're doing today, which is showing up, because it's really hard to be strong by yourself. If I didn't comply and shut my doors, they would then issue me a $70,000 citation. And if you can possibly believe this, Child Protective Services showed up at my home.
2 government agencies now weaponized to go against a stylist simply because she wants to work.
Yes,
This is such a load of bullshit, seriously. Like, these people are perpetual victims in their heads. How does one get to the point where they view themselves as martyrs to this degree? This is insane.
I'm doing this for me and my family, but I am doing it for you now too. After I reopened, I became a target for the leftists. And when the George Floyd riots started, it was posted online and shared by Antifa.
Oh my God. Antifa is not a group, okay? It's an idea where you are opposed to fascism. Anti-fascism is what that means. But this woman wants to lie and fearmonger and twist things around, of course. So she's going to pretend that she's the victim of everything, always.
You start burning down businesses, start with Glamour Salon, and kick Lindsey Graham's ass. I posted on my public page that I was not going to sit by and let my salon get damaged and looted. I was asking for supporters to come down and help me stand in front of the salon and protect it.
And it looks like you got that.
I did.
Everything looks like normal. It's just like people standing around and hanging out, and they're on their phone, walking by. What are you talking about right now? You got people to protect the salon because there were, like, riots trying to destroy it? What? Why is some guy just walking by casually on his phone if you're in such deep danger?
To sit by and let my salon get damaged and looted. I was asking for supporters to come down and help me.
Look, just people walking by. Quick interjection, this won't take long, I promise. I'd appreciate it if you watched to the end of the video, or at least a couple extra seconds, because YouTube bases its algorithm off of watch time. The more watch time a video has, the further the video will go. Also, take a look at my website, owenmorgan.com. I'm selling my book, Understanding Jehovah's Witnesses, 400 pages, and my second book, 100 Questions for Jehovah's Witnesses, which is about 80 pages. And you can find them both there on the website. Audio form, ebook form, whatever. It's about my experiences within the religion and the history of the religion generally. The 100 questions are intended to challenge your religious leader, so I'd appreciate it if you give it a read. Okay, back to the video.
Stand in front of the salon and protect it.
And it looks like you got that.
I did. A lot more than I expected. And because I didn't want my salon burned down, I was labeled a white supremacist.
She's labeled a white supremacist because she doesn't want her salon burned down. Anti-racist people do want their salons burnt down. That's like part of the deal. If you're anti-racist, if you accept everybody, then you burn your own salon down by default. Totally. That makes sense to me.
And a nationalist. I fought the government and never backed down, but ultimately we lost all 6 businesses to cancel culture. It was one of the
cancel culture did it, totally.
most devastating moments, losing an entire life.
And Lindsay, also, you've got the nickname now online as the Patriot Barbie.
I wouldn't take anything back. I have no regrets. I don't care what it costs. Standing up for what's right will always be more important.
Like, nobody came after her. Nobody was giving her a hard time, okay? She brought this whole thing upon herself. The degree of, what's the term I'm looking for? Like, perpetual victimhood in their head is unmatched. It's just nuts.
What God did with that horrific situation is beautiful. He spoke to me and said, you are going to use your voice.
Any kid in those schools could tell you that men and women are not the same.
Oh, God, Jesse Waters.
I am a cat. Meow, meow.
Oh, that was her. I remember this video. God, I haven't seen this in years. Yeah, she showed up to, like, a school board meeting in, like, cat ears and said that she's a cat. Okay, let me just tell you this real quick, okay? Nobody believes that they're a cat. Nobody. Trans people don't believe that they're cats or whatever. There's this thing called otherkin, where people believe they have the spirit or the soul of, like, an animal, like a wolf or something, and they identify with the trans community. Guess what? That's fake. It's fake. It was created by 4chaners as a joke. Nobody unironically believes that. I imagine that, as is with everything, at some point when that started spreading around, the otherkin thing, I'm sure that somebody, some, exception to the rule, started believing it. Just like there's some guy that's sexually attracted to balloons popping or like a mannequin or something. I'm sure some nutcase out there has probably gone down that road. But kids are not identifying as animals in schools and demanding a litter box in the classroom. That's what this whole meme is about. She seems to believe that kids are using litter boxes in classrooms and stuff. Like, this is a common belief, actually. There's a guy named Andrew Womack. I talk about him from time to time when the subject comes up. Andrew Womack is a guy on the right here. He's on Kenneth Copeland's network, the Victory Channel, on like DirecTV and Dish Network and all that other junk. Extremely famous, extremely well-known, mainstream. He's run successful propaganda campaigns and taken school boards in his district and stuff. And he came out here without a hint of irony, without a smile on his face, and unironically said this.
A friend of mine in Illinois actually knows a teacher that comes to school as a furry and wears ears and a tail and uses a litter box at the front of the classroom to relieve himself.
No, your friend doesn't know somebody like that because that's fictitious, okay? That's not real. It's never been real. They're not litter boxes in classrooms. There are two... we're going to get back to Patriot Barbie in a second. I just want to touch on this to be very sure that this is clear. There are two pictures that circulated around proving that there were litter boxes being used by school children in classrooms instead of bathrooms. I mean, in classrooms. I don't mean in the bathroom. Like, he's saying in the front of the classroom, the teacher uses a litter box at the front of the classroom, okay? Like I said, this is all fictitious. The first picture that released about this was a picture of litter that was in bags in a classroom for emergency situations, like a school shooter situation. There are a bunch of different supplies that classrooms should have in case of like a shooter, an active shooter or whatever. The second example was a picture of a litter box in a bathroom at an airport's pet area. You know, airports, you can bring your pets on airplanes if you like pay extra or whatever. And after you get off the plane, you bring them to like a pet relief area. Yeah, it was one of those. This is a fictitious problem, is the point here. Sorry to get off on a tangent on that, but I remember this now. I remember her, this woman here, dressing up like a cat. This is just part of the trans panic, the trans hate. Nobody wants to be a cat. Nobody, okay? Quick interjection. This won't take long, I promise. I just want to say I'd appreciate it if you check my Patreon. OwenMorgan.com/Patreon to find it. YouTube's algorithm goes up and down, so I can never predict where it's going to be. Having patrons gives me some level of stability. Okay, back to the video.
Spoke to me and said you were going to use your voice.
Any kid in those schools could tell you that men and women are not the same.
I am a cat. Meow, meow. Truth prevails over imagination. Reality exists. Discernment is innate and something we are biologically wired to have.
Discernment?
In the end, God used this for good. He made me a warrior.
Oh my God, dude. She dressed up as the cat on Fox News or whatever.
Reality exists. Discernment is innate and something we are biologically wired to have. In the end...
Look at this. She went on Jesse Waters dressed like a cat. Oh my God.
God used this for good. He made me a warrior, and that's exactly what America needs.
Yeah, Patriot Barbie. So anyway, she went on like this guy, Steve Schultz. She went on his TV show or whatever. And oh my God, dude. Like, I don't know where either of their heads are at, but let's listen here.
Man, welcome, Lindsey Graham, also known as Patriot Barbie. Well, until recently, you were an Oregonian with me, huh?
Oregonian?
Was, yeah, up until 2020.
Well, you have an amazing story, and I saw it a few weeks back, and maybe it's a month or more now, but I saw it, and I thought, man, I missed that, because I was...
By the way, this video, it's on Rumble, and it came out June 18th. So I guess he's saying he saw her in May?
I was involved in my own world here with the Elijah streams, and I wasn't watching local news. But hey, Lindsey, bring us back to the beginning. What was your life like? You had businesses. Start from there and tell us the story.
Okay, well, I had grown up in Oregon most of my life since 6th grade. My husband was born and raised in Oregon.
Boy, okay, we're starting at the very beginning.
We were definitely Oregonians, and we had, since we've been married for almost 13 years now, our entire marriage was being entrepreneurs, building businesses, building a life for our family, a legacy.
Okay.
And in Oregon, I had built Glamour Salon for 12 years, constantly reinvesting into that business, constantly expanding, bringing a lot of wealth and value to the community.
Totally, I bet. Lots of wealth and value.
And I had grown to about a 5,000 square foot space in downtown Oregon, right in the heart of downtown. 25 stylists. We had built a 30,000 square foot gym in Woodburn.
If that's true, that is pretty legit. Not quite too legit to quit, obviously, because she did end up quitting, but it's pretty legit. I had a 1,200 square foot area when I was running my 3D printing business, printing stands for the Nintendo, Super Nintendo, original NES, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color games, that type of thing. Also console stands. I was 3D printing those. And it was, it was good. It's good. So yeah, respect for building a little company. My business was bringing in at its peak $8,000 a month, but I was only keeping 10% of that because everything else went toward paying rent and stuff. So $800 a month. It was something,
Which is, of course, a minority community where it was growing. And we had invested and bought into the Tan Republic franchise, and we had 4 of those locations. So
the what?
At this time in 2020, we had invested all of our money back into our businesses. We had just built a brand new home in Silverton on property. I had just given birth to my 3rd and final child. And we were kind of I think it's important to note that.
Oh, she froze.
For spiritual purposes, this wasn't just a point in our career.
Oh boy. When somebody says for spiritual purposes, whatever they're about to say is going to be absolutely unhinged. Do you think she dresses up as a cat because she wants to dress up as a cat? That's a good question. That is a strong possibility, I would say. Now, I mean, people dress up as furries because it's fun. Because they're just enjoying themselves. Furries don't think that they're other animals. They don't literally have this delusion in their head that they are actually a cat or whatever. They're just having a good time. My God, dude.
This was the peak of our career. We were ready to, I could not expand Glamour Salon anymore. I had 25 girls. That's all I could fit. The gym was our retirement plan.
Okay. Well, I mean, when you want to expand, then you rent a new space, right?
Right. We've had our kids. We've built our forever home. Let's just smooth sail. And that is when the government came in and said, you can't think for yourself.
The government didn't say that to anybody.
We'll decide who's essential and who's not essential.
No, society determined. All right, let me rephrase. Now, there are definitions for essential businesses and non-essential businesses. And we have to, as a society, keep certain companies running. Like the power company is essential. You must have power coming to your house. But you don't necessarily, you need hospitals. They're essential. You don't need nail salons for a society to thrive and exist. Dude, I have no idea where I'm going. I don't even remember this part exactly. I hate mazes. Why do they put mazes in games? Anyway, if a company is deemed non-essential like that, then the government should absolutely ensure that the people who work at that company are still taken care of if it's deemed non-essential. But through PPP loans, for example, exactly what they did. But as a society, we should be able to say, you've got to close your doors for now because, millions of people are dying because you're open right now.
All of your businesses are non-essential. So, keeping in mind that we had not saved a whole lot of money, we had reinvested and reinvested and reinvested. And I think, so I'm 43 now, I was 39 at the time. It was we're kind of we're not young. We're not building our empire or our...
How much Botox do you think she's had?
Wealth or our financial security. We've already built it. And now the government says you can't operate any of it. And that's where we were in 2020 when the lockdowns came.
No, I mean, you were perfectly free to operate your nail salon. You just needed to close down for a short period of time, and you were compensated through PPP loans, which were by and large forgiven. Like, she lives in this wild world where she is the victim of everything, doesn't she? What is it like? Does she have Munchausen syndrome? Is that what it is? Does she just, like, have this obsession with being, like, the victim in every situation and having people view her as, like, some warrior or whatever? You know, I was attacked by people in West Virginia because I reported a teacher for saying that, like, the LGBT community is wrong and bad and evil. You can be trans if you want. I don't believe in that is what she said, basically. And you need to have a Bible-based moral system or you're just not a good person. You can't be a good person, you know, all that shit. I reported a teacher for that, and the entire town came against me. I mean, it was insane. When I say I was attacked, I mean, like, there were... My tires were slashed. Every time a car passed my house, it honked their horn. Like, they knew where I lived, and they wanted me to know that they knew where I lived. They being, like, you know, extremists in West Virginia, basically. It was scary shit. And I was in a bad position. I had to leave. I remember, like, we fled the state. I had a hood over my head and a mask on my face. And I stayed ducked down in the car until we got, you know, sufficient distance away. Like, my wife would go into the gas station and check the newspaper every, you know, couple of cities to see if my name was on the front page of that one or not. That's how insane it was. Now, I don't wish that on anybody, obviously. That's terrible. But that's not what happened with this woman. She targeted herself with this nonsense. Nobody would have given a shit if she just didn't want to keep her business open. Don't keep your business, or keep your business open if you want. No one would have given a shit. Go nuts. Keep your business open to your heart's content. And if you want to pay fines for that, then pay fines for it. She wanted to turn it into a big thing where she was the victim of government. Blah, 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 blah. Like, get over yourself. You're not that important, okay? Nobody gave a shit until she shoved it in their faces.
We've already built it, and now the government says you can't operate any of it. And that's where we were in 2020 when the lockdowns came.
Government did not say that.
And you were, I mean, for anyone that's not sure what you're saying, this was the lockdown, the masks, the supposed virus.
Supposed virus? Does he think that the virus isn't real?
Or the supposedly death-causing virus?
Pandemic.
Yeah, when I heard you tell the story, you were, I think you had brought it in when I was watching it, and you said something like, I'm going back to work. You'd said to your husband, you had cooperated at first, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's hard to imagine now.
Yeah.
Knowing what.
I mean, everybody cooperated at first because everybody recognized that this is like an extremely dangerous situation. I remember seeing like people in West Virginia wearing masks, and they were like Trump supporters and stuff, and that it hadn't even been recommended by the government. Preppers, like right-wing extremist preppers who have like a cache of weapons and ammunition and MREs from the military, you know, meals ready to eat or whatever. They have masks in their prep kits too, usually. That's part of it, you know, N95 masks and medicines and stuff. Those are the people who started complaining about masks eventually. After wearing them around, they started complaining about them. It was 100% political. It was all political. It was all fabricated, fear-mongering nonsense from these people. So yeah, she cooperated with the lockdowns and the masks and everything because it hadn't been politicized quite yet.
We know, but everyone in America complied except for maybe 5 to 10 people. Some people complied or didn't comply quietly. That was not the case for me on not on purpose, by the way. We all complied for about 6 weeks. Remember, it was 2 weeks to flatten the curve. And then it was like, well, another week and then another week.
No, it was some period of time to flatten the curve, and it succeeded in flattening the curve. Not enough to completely stop the pandemic, of course. Nobody thought that the pandemic was going to stop. Dude, this is really annoying. Like, the camera on this game drives me insane. No one thought that it was going to just completely come to an end like that, but the flatter we can get the curve, the more people will survive. And preventing people from losing their friends and family is at, like, the top of my list, personally. Of course, there's a line. Maybe we shouldn't have kept kids out of school for as long as we did. You know, we can discuss this stuff, but that's not what these people are even discussing. This is not what Patriot Barbie is even, like, bent out of shape over. She was bent out of shape from the beginning about simply helping to protect people from dying, basically. It's just insane to me that she doesn't seem to have, like, any empathy. The only time that she was willing to wear a mask is when she thought that it would be helpful to her. When she realized that, oh, okay, well, I understand the death rate. I understand that, you know, comorbidities and all that stuff. I'm not I'm not in much danger personally. It's just that over the stretch of society, millions of people are going to die. But I likely will not be one of those people. When she realized that, she threw the mask out, said, I don't give a about other people. I give a shit about myself and absolutely nothing and nobody else. That's the mindset that she found herself in. And it's disgusting and shameless and wrong. She has zero empathy. She cannot put herself in other people's shoes. By the way, this is the definition of psychopathy. You know, when somebody is psychopathic, it's more complicated than this, but one of the features of psychopathy is an inability to build models in your head to kind of put yourself in other people's positions and understand how they would view the world. A feature of psychopathy. And antisocial personality disorder, also known as sociopathy, also known as psychopathy type 2. She doesn't seem to have the ability to do that. It's just, like, disgusting, seriously disgusting.
Now, I was not walking with Christ at this time as deeply as I am now.
Okay.
I would say probably not at all.
Well, she's not now either. She can believe that she's, quote unquote, walking with Christ, but that's not happening.
And I was not political. So none of this was driven by politics or religion. I had a new baby, and so I was like, whatever, extra.
No, it was absolutely driven by politics.
Extra time with my child. It's a blessing. And I didn't believe 2 weeks to flatten the curve. I kind of went, wait, hold on. You guys think you can control an unseen virus? Like that?
Oh my God. She's so, like, uninformed on this subject. It's embarrassing.
That doesn't make sense at all to me. So I said, whatever. I don't buy it, but whatever. And then 2 weeks turned into 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And now everyone was complying, not because we were scared of the virus, because we were scared of the government and what they would do to us.
Who was scared of the government and what they could do to us? What is she talking about?
And May 2nd, I just looked at my husband and I was like, we're about $100,000 in debt, right? Because we can't pay the leases on our 6 businesses. We can't pay our
that's what PPP loans were for.
Mortgage. We don't have any money coming in because we don't have any businesses open. I'm going to go back to work as a hairstylist. Let's not.
Well, see, that's a problem. Like, society was so concerned about what was happening. People were simply choosing not to go to businesses. It wasn't that the government was telling them they can't. There weren't really any lockdowns, not any serious ones. In fact, was there even a lockdown on a federal level? I don't think so. I think it was all state to state. By the way, didn't Ron DeSantis take the pandemic really seriously at first and say that, they needed a lockdown, flatten the curve, all that other stuff? It was society that, like, people just decided not to. The government didn't have to intervene. If you wanted to go out and do hairstyling or whatever, and your company was failing because no one wanted to come in, that's just how it played out. Like, that's welcome to real life.
Not open the gym. We have a partner. Let's not open the tanning salons. It's a franchise. My salon belongs to me. I don't answer to anybody. Well, I'm going to open, and I'm going to tell my girls that they can open too, that we're going to work, and so be it. Well, I had shared this in a page, which probably still exists. It's called Reopen Oregon on Facebook. I thought it was private. I was not big into social media. I was not aware that this would be controversial or political. I was
Really? You didn't?
completely not awake, right? And so
Oh, she's awake now. Woke, if you will.
I said, guys, I'm going to open. Like, we're in debt. We don't have any money coming in. I just need to work. And that's that. And I hope you'll support me. And I didn't mean financially. I meant kind of emotionally. And like, you know, when it hits the fan, would you be there for me? And that got shared like 60,000 times.
Oh, man.
And I wasn't checking Facebook. Again, I was not big on social media. I wasn't like watching the story, or just, to me, I was like, I'm opening, whatever. And again, thought everyone will support me. Everyone has to understand there's no one coming in for business owners. They're going to understand why I have to do this. Not controversial. I woke up the next morning and I had the news messaging me on Facebook. We heard that you're going to reopen on Tuesday. Would you give us a statement? And I was like, well, yeah, you know the statement. The statement is that like business owners aren't getting money. We're going broke. What's the statement? They didn't understand that. So before I knew it, the story had gone, I guess you could say, viral. Probably more like Oregon-wise, but it was
locally viral. Yeah, my story went locally viral too. My town had 3,400 people in it, 1,900 people on the Facebook page dedicated to doxing me, finding me, and doing something insane to me.
The amount of tyranny that I experienced when I reopened that really made the story go global. And I do mean global. It was being shared in Iraq, in Australia, in Germany.
Whoa.
And yeah, it was from the day that I announced I was going to open. I was threatened with a $70,000 citation from OSHA. And then I opened anyway.
Okay, OSHA is the organization that monitors and controls cleanliness, basically, like how you clean your shop. Like you have to legally clean surfaces with bleach. You have to mop every single night, and you have to put out like wet floor signs. You have to make sure that your employees are using proper PPE and being safe, and they're not sitting around breathing in acetone all day long, and you're not using chemicals that could give them cancer. That's what OSHA does, and it's necessary. And of course, why am I surprised? I'm really not. That Republicans demonize OSHA. Of course they do, right? Republicans, like this woman right here, are anti any regulation whatsoever. Like even regulation that is good for people, obviously. These, Patriot Barbie or whatever are like obsessed with demonizing, hating, and all of that. On
May 5th. And after that, I was told that my business license would be revoked. My hair license would be taken. I would be...
Like, I really wish I knew the actual story of what happened with her. Let me see what happened. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, interesting. So I'm looking at stuff from 3 or 4 years ago even. There's screenshots of Patriot Barbie saying on Facebook, quote, "Please pray for me. Tomorrow is an informal conference with Oregon OSHA regarding my $14,000 citation for defying the lockdown. They need to withdraw it." I thought she said it's $70,000, didn't she? Why is she saying it's $70,000 when it wasn't? She said it was $14,000 at the time. Damn it. I really want to find information on this, but I'm having like a really hard time finding anything trustworthy. Like that Arizona website was trustworthy, but it's behind a paywall. That's just, see, it's wrong. The Arizona Republic right here. This is wrong. This should not happen. This is how you get a destroyed society.
Be thrown in jail. I would be issued a Class E misdemeanor.
Class E misdemeanor is the lowest misdemeanor that you can get. And she would not get any jail time for that. And for what? What would the charge even be? I'm sorry, I don't believe a word out of her mouth at this point.
I would receive $50,000 a day fines if I didn't close back down. And what really, really shook the world. And I can talk about it just fine right now, but at the time it was devastating.
Yeah, again, I'm sorry, I just don't believe anything she says here.
Child Protective Services showed up at my house less than 72 hours after opening. And they violated my family and my home in so many illegal ways, which I know now, but they also threatened to take my 3 children away.
I just don't believe it. I mean, I'm going to need a little bit of evidence for this. Anything. I will take anything. Unfortunately, I can't find anything on it. I wish that I could. That's really frustrating. But by default right now, I'm not going to believe a word out of her mouth. She's going to have to, she has a burden of proof here. She's making some wild claims. I'm going to need something like a news article she can turn us to, like a search warrant for her house, or like a caseworker talking about anything at all. Take whatever. She doesn't have any of that.
My 6-week-old baby Ranger and I think she was 3 at the time, Oakley, and 5. Trigger was 5.
Okay, that's the real crime here. That she named her kids Oakley, Ranger, and Trigger. Is that what she said? That is morally wrong.
And it kind of occurred to me at that time, there is nothing the government won't do to threaten me and intimidate me into shutting down. And that was really what it was about.
That's just not how things work.
It wasn't about safety. Walmart was open. Home Depot was open. It was not about our health.
Like, Walmart is an essential business that must be available to people for their safety and well-being. Must be available.
It was about compliance. And to me, when they sent someone to threaten to take my children, you know, I had support come alongside me, an attorney. The world was now watching, and I realized this goes far beyond me. This is a personal attack because I am the one standing in defiance, and it worked for me and against me. Right, the goal was to empower other people to stand up too, but the problem is that the government came at me so violently that other people were not inspired to stand up because they were like, "Oh, I don't."
Well, and I have to say, Lindsay, you know, because I'm putting myself in that place because I'm a grandparent now, so I don't have any kids at home. But if they showed up at my house, even though I knew it was all evil behavior and probably even illegal, I can't imagine going forward. I think I would have tucked my tail between my legs and said, "All right, I'll go. I guess we'll go." But from where did you get this backbone, for lack of a better word, to keep going after that?
Well, she's getting filthy rich off of it, of course. She brought in like hundreds of thousands of dollars in donations from right-wing nutcases like Steve Schultz here. So, yeah, that does not like surprise me at all that she kept going with it. The problem is that, like, it was all made up in the first place. Like, none of this is real. She wasn't being, like, persecuted for her political beliefs by the government or whatever. You know, if things really were the way that she described them, I might actually have a problem with it. If say, the government was, like, sending CPS to her door because she wasn't, I don't know, whatever, following instructions or whatever it is, that'd be a problem for me. But I just cannot buy any of this. And, you know, I'm not even sure that'd be a problem. I'd have to think about it. But I would. I'd think about it at that point.
Well, you know, God knows us so intimately. He knows who we are. He created us exactly how he needed us to be for the plan that he has for us.
Yeah.
And I have a series of life experiences in my 20s that I wrote about in my book that I wondered my entire adult life, why did God allow those things to happen to me? Why did I fall
right? Yes. Oh, my God.
away from him and choose to do these things that were so harmful?
Oh, it was her falling away from him. That was a problem. Okay. God didn't do it. It was her falling away.
And after I defied the government in 2020, and after I lost everything, and after I moved to Arizona, and he called me to write my book, Targeted, and I sat down and I wrote these stories, I realized he has uniquely created me to be this person. I can't give you an example of how I became this courageous warrior. Or
just such a victim, dude. Literally calling herself a courageous warrior. Oh my God, get over yourself, please.
How I am this strong.
You know, I faced what she's describing right now, personally. I faced it. I don't describe myself as a courageous warrior. How full of yourself can you possibly get? The only time I ever bring that up, that story nowadays, is to make a point about where society is right now and the types of things that can happen to people and what Christian nationalists are doing. That's why I bring that up. She's bringing it up to, what, bring glory to herself, I guess, huh? To say she's some courageous warrior? Holy shit.
He made me this strong without me even really realizing it. Now, he also made me determined and hard-headed. And my dad and my mother could have told you, she's not alive now, could have told you, like, she's been determined and hard-headed since she could speak. And those characteristics can play for you or against you, right? Well, part of what I was doing in Oregon was watching them continually threaten me.
Who is them? Who are they? Are they in the room with us right now?
Over and over and over again. And the hard-headed, persistent person in me went, why are you trying so hard to shut me down when you know this isn't about our health? Like, why are you...
Oh, they know it's not about health. So the government, I guess, is just like trying to force people to lock down just because they like to? Like, what would the point even be behind any of this?
Threatening to remove my business license and kick me out of my building when you know good and well that Walmart's open and 500 people are shopping every hour.
It is so hard not to insult people sometimes. I put my best effort into it. This is dumb as dog shit. Does she really not understand why Walmart could stay open as an essential business, but a hair and nail salon shouldn't? Like, at the peak of COVID, does she really not get it?
So it's like you're testing me to see, where will I break? Where will I crack? And the hard-headed, determined person that God made me to be went, no, you're not going to crack me. It was not even about, I mean, I knew what I was doing was right. I knew that they were lying, and I knew that this pandemic was not being shown to us the way that it truly was. I just knew it.
So was it a real pandemic or not in her mind? I'm not even sure.
But almost as importantly as I knew what I was doing was right, was the ability for me to look at them dead on and go, you are not going to break me, because I know that's what you're doing. It's not about health. It's about you trying to break me, and I will not allow it. And the kid thing was very close. I'm telling you that I was like, that's it. I'm done. Like, they can't take my kids. This fight is over. I got to close down. But I mean, every time I lost my resilience and I lost my faith and I lost my courage, the Lord sent somebody to come alongside me. And that was an attorney that said, this was illegal. This was an outreach. This was planned. This was strategized. This is to...
An attorney. Okay. And what was like the end result of that? Did she go through court cases and win anything at all? I don't even know. I wish I knew. Unfortunately, the only information about this is behind a paywall.
Target you. We are going to fight it. And I went, okay, let's. And so it was like, okay, just as I was about to break, the right person, probably convicted by the Lord, swept in to help me.
Well, now, obviously, and I want to ask this, where, because you obviously knew of God and probably knew you should be serving him, but you said you probably weren't. At what point did you reach down and you and God started doing business together? However you would put it, I don't want to put any words to it.
Oh my God.
In your mouth. When did that take place, and how did that take place?
Well, that is a distinct moment that I can recall and even feel still to this day.
Really?
The beautiful thing is that it was not in the trial. The beautiful thing is that it was when I had fought this fight and I lost. So what you...
Oh, so she's saying she went through the court system and she lost in court? I'm trying to understand.
Saw in the video about Antifa targeting me. That is what caused me to lose everything in Oregon. It wasn't the government. It was the cancel culture.
Oh my God.
That decided I was a murderer. I was a white supremacist. I was a nationalist.
Okay, I don't know what any of those things have to do with like refusing to close your doors during COVID. And that makes me think that she was probably being accused of those things because she did something that was like shit that a white nationalist would do, for example, right?
I was a far right-wing extremist and I was a danger to the community.
Well, that one is true.
All of my stylists walked out on me. People started canceling their gym memberships. They started calling and canceling their Tan Republic memberships.
Dude, I am so curious about like what she actually did. I wish I knew the full story. I'm gonna have to do some heavy research on this, see if I can figure out exactly what happened, and I'll readdress this later.
We were getting death threats like nonstop, every minute on the minute at every business. And we ultimately lost all of our businesses in Oregon. We had to sell our home and we had to leave Oregon and move to Arizona. That was in September. So I opened in May, June, July, August. It only took 4 months for them to destroy everything that we had built for 12 years. And there was a day that I think I had one stylist left. She had been one of my best friends since high school. And she said, I'm sticking with you through all of this. But the very last person in the salon had walked out on me other than her. And the gym owner said, you guys, you got to sell to me. People are canceling left and right. This thing's going to go under if we don't get you out of here. And we got to sell the tanning salons. We got to move. Our kids are being threatened. We're not safe here, and we can't be successful here. And I sat in my truck and realized that my life would never be the same.
Like, again, I feel like all of this shit was a direct result of her being a colossal scumbag. I'm just like super suspect about anything that she lays down here. Because she's already proven herself to be like a liar. She just lied about a bunch of stuff. So one way or another, like, she's completely full of shit here. I'm just not sure about which things she's lying about. Should I assume it's everything? I feel like maybe I should assume she's lying about everything right now. They quit because you didn't care about their health. There you go. She got fined by OSHA, and OSHA is there to protect people's rights to not be hurt in the line of work or whatever. Like, OSHA is there to protect people. She's fined tons of money for it. Like, what the